ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to my first ever The Coaster Talks podcast. This bi weekly podcast will feature discussions of all the changes coming to the Disney theme parks, Universal, including Epic Universe, and other theme parks around the world. Today, we have our very first special guest with us, Drew the Disney Dude. Welcome, Drew.
Hello, everyone. I am honored to be your first guest, and I gotta say, the art on your TV in the background, it's very solid.
Yes, thank you. That's made by EY Artists over on X. I'll put a link in the description to them. Thank you to them for making my channel logo for me. All right, so let's get right into it. First up, I think with the recent photos by Bio, I don't know if you've seen them.
I
might
have.
be a good time to discuss Tropical Americas coming to Animal
Yes.
Kingdom. So I saw the photo the other day. Cemetosaurus has been demolished, which that's sad. I was hoping it would go to like the archives or something, but
Cemetosaurus is way too tall, unfortunately.
yeah.
I will say though,
somewhere, but
yeah, I will say I'm kind of shocked just by the fact that like that was a overnight thing. Like I understand that Disney probably didn't want like a headless dinosaur in the middle of Animal Kingdom.
Yeah.
But I guess they can transform entire parks overnight for Halloween and Christmas. So
yeah,
it's just one of those things where whenever Disney wants to do things quickly, they can, right?
Yeah. But I'm excited for Tropical Americas overall. It looks beautiful, at least from the art.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think the big thing that I've said a lot with Tropical Americas, but I'll continue to say it until this land opens, is that you see Bruce Vaughan return to Walt Disney Imagineering, right, in March of 2023. And that was like right after we got that initial Blue Sky concept, with Zootopia and Moana. And there was like a lot of mixed reaction to that because it was just a random IP. But once Bruce came back and they like completely restarted the entire plan, you have that core idea, a region of the world, and then you have the IPs that fit that. So it just feels a lot more Animal Kingdom-y than a Moana ride, and then 5 feet next to it you have a Zootopia e-ticket, right?
Yeah, and I'm glad that Zootopia is going into Tree of Life rather than its own land. I feel like if it were to get a land, it'd go better in Hollywood Studios.
Yeah,
but I'm happy. I'm fine with it at Animal Kingdom. I'll miss Bug's Life, but I was never the biggest fan of that. Granted, last time I saw it, I was a little kid, so
yeah, it's
traumatizing.
I think my favorite thing with It's Tough to Be a Bug is that original song at the end, but it's only like a minute long.
Yeah.
And the Hopper animatronic is phenomenal too, but I feel like lately more than ever it's been very unreliable. So I'm hoping on the final day on March 16th that Hopper is working and all the effects are working, and then it just goes out the way it should be, because people get very attached to these things regardless of what they are. So yeah, I'll be there on the 16th to document it, but I think Zootopia with brand new songs and animation and an A1000 Clawhauser, it's like how do you not do that, right?
Yeah, I'll miss the whatever Broadway posters and movie posters though.
Yeah,
Beauty and the Bees.
Yeah, there's an opportunity here though for Disney to do those with Zootopia and kind of have that as a nod to It's Tough to Be a Bug. So we'll see what they do there. I don't expect it, but that would be one of those fun things that they could just literally keep the same exact locations of the posters. You just add new art.
Yeah, and we saw with Shanghai, they've got good puns and stuff there.
Yes.
In there.
Yeah, they have one for Living with the Land and Trader Sam's, right? If I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So, I'm cautiously enthusiastic.
Yeah, that's a good way to describe it. There's I don't want to like hype things up before they really like reveal major things, but with the Tropical Americas, it seems like we have enough substantial evidence for it to be like, yeah, this is going to be a beautiful land during the day and nighttime. But the Zootopia thing, we really don't know anything besides we're just going to all the biomes, and Gazelle's probably going to sing, right? So all the basics.
And with Tropical Americas, I always think it's interesting. The project is underway, and there's still people saying it's not going to happen. There's
don't get me started.
Yeah, I saw a post on WW Magic the other day that said that oh, they're not going to get rid of Indy and Dinosaur and build Indy. They're not going to build Indy. They're not going to do this, and I don't know. I just don't feel like they're going to cancel it at this point.
Yeah, no, it's all happening. I think the only thing that like might happen is as these projects evolve, maybe budget shift or timeline shift. But It's happening. Like we literally just saw a few days ago, Joe Grody was at an archaeological conference talking about
Exactly.
this, and there was all sorts of concepts and stuff that Walt Disney Imagineering is looking at. It's happening. They've had it was September of 2023 since this was initially kind of teased. So there's no reason for them to cancel at this point. You don't greenlight a project fully and then pull back after you start clearing land. Just
Yeah.
I feel like no matter what Disney does these days, sometimes it's valid. Like I'm not saying that valid criticism and valid feedback isn't worth it, or there's not a place for it. But with this, there's no way it doesn't happen. Like it makes so much sense for them to bring in this story and bring excitement to a part of an area that has no one now.
And I'm excited for Encanto too. It looks like it's going to be a fun ride. I'm expecting it to be like not necessarily. I think it's been rumored it's Omnimover-ish. I think not necessarily an Omnimover, but something similar.
Yeah, I think you've seen all the stuff as well as I do, right? With some of the rumors that float around out there, but it seems like a tracked variation of something. With you could almost look at like Ratatouille, maybe, because like there's a few vehicles moving through each scene to where everything's kind of timed happening around you, but it's all very quick paced, which would make sense. With they said we're going to be visiting all the rooms, and then we end up in Antonio's room for the finale, so. Even people aren't even talking about that, and that's been officially announced. So that just goes to show you that no one pays attention or cares anymore, right? Yeah. Not everyone, but the vocal group that doesn't like Disney anymore. But yeah, I think it'll be a great time, and I hope that I think my thing with it is you're kind of trying to sell the furniture as come alive. So how do you sell that with a track? That's the one thing that I'm seeing how they do. But I think it'll be great. Just the fact that the show building is big enough for them to clear trees, and we're seeing that literally right now. Like we'll be looking, what's today, March 8th. We'll be looking back at this in a couple of years, being like, yeah, they were clearing trees when we're talking about that, and now we have all these animatronics in this gorgeous ride. So I think it'll be great.
Yeah, and the bio photos, I wasn't expecting that. He doesn't fly over Disney much, so that's been cool to see.
Yeah, I agree. It was it's crazy. We're kind of seeing Epic wrap up, and everything from Epic's been very positively overwhelming, which is great because I just said it yesterday with Fox, but the more that these companies do, the more we benefit. So everyone's like Disney versus Universal, and it's like maybe behind the scenes it's like business wise there's a battle there. But at the end of the day, the same people work on all these projects. They go back and forth. One of the main art directors on Monsters Unchained and the entire Dark Universe land worked on Haunted Mansion. Pete Carcello, he's an awesome, incredible person. There's so many more people working on Epic right now that came into the field in the industry as Imagineers. So it's like, why would we hate on these things? Just enjoy them. It's an escape from the real world. We should want that.
Or the like hatred of Epic because the diehard Disney fans or whatever. It's why do we want Epic Universe to fail? That's my question.
And you and I are even diehard Disney fans, and we're even open to it. So I wish more people were like that.
I'm excited for Epic.
It's going to be great. It's going to be a beautiful.
But also, even if you're just a Disney fan, even if you don't want Universal to succeed, if Epic Universe succeeds, we all win. It's because
absolutely.
If Epic Universe does really, really well, it's going to be the Harry Potter effect. It's going to push Disney to build something incredible, no matter what that is. Yeah. Is it something that we haven't seen yet? Is it villains? Is it cars? It's going to be something great because Epic Universe, they're going to get scared, honestly.
Yeah. And that's the thing is, like, to your point, it could be where, maybe budgets aren't adjusted for these major projects like Cars and Villains, and maybe they make them more grand, like what we've seen with Tokyo Disney Sea, Tokyo Disneyland, Fantasy Springs, all that. I think that there's even short-term things that I've been hearing some rumblings about, like maybe with a parade or a show, maybe they add in some extra performers here to make it a little more alive than what they were thinking, because that will make it that Disney difference compared to what they can just get away with. So we'll see. But I like you said, I mean, you've kind of said it perfectly. I don't have much more to add. The more that these companies do, the more we benefit. That's just the facts. And at the end of the day, that's the reality.
Yeah. And I'm, again, cautiously enthusiastic for the fountain show at Epic. Because
did you see the videos that literally just came out this morning of how incredible that looks?
I did not.
Yeah, so whenever we wrap up, there's Ivo on YouTube flew a drone around Epic, and the fountains were like full on Bellagio. Like it looks like a miniature version of World of Color, but
Oh
with
my God,
Bellagio style fountain in Vegas. It looks incredible.
nice. I'm excited for the nighttime show, especially because that is supposed to include the fountains, right? That's, I
Yeah,
think,
I believe
with
so.
fireworks.
I think I'm kind of surprised that they haven't talked about it at all.
Yeah,
But just like knowing already officially that like Apollo's gonna turn the park over to Luna at nighttime and the entire park's gonna come alive and the spotlights and all the portals, like there's a lot of official stuff with Epic that no one is even talking about, which I think would bring a lot more excitement to the park. But again, I cover Disney mostly, so I'm not gonna dive into that.
yeah,
But like even in the video that they released yesterday, Inside Monsters Unchained, at the very end of that video, they literally showed the pre-show room, like where Frankenstein's gonna walk, and no one's even talking about that. They're just showing the general video, but they're not diving into the video. So I think that's where there's some space with this industry and coverage that I try to do is don't just cover the general synopsis, like dive into the details, break the stuff down, right? Show us what we're going to be getting.
yeah. And this is the first time I'm discussing this on the channel, but it's not officially confirmed yet. But there is a good chance I'll be going to Epic Universe this summer. We haven't booked it yet, but we're planning. It all honestly depends on scheduling with other things I have going on and with marching band and everything.
Yeah.
But we're planning for that. So if they eventually start releasing single day tickets, we're
For
gonna
real.
like when is that gonna happen?
75 days away as of us recording this, and we still don't have the
Nice.
single and 2-day tickets.
Yeah. So our plan is maybe a day at Universal Studios, a day at Islands of Adventure, and then 2 days at Epic Universe. It'll be my first time at any Universal park, so
That'd be awesome. Yeah, the classic parks. I guess the classic because they've been open for longer than we've been alive. But Islands coaster lineup is. I mean, you're a coaster nerd, right? So you'll appreciate the coasters.
So, and I hope to ride Rip Ride Rocket before it goes.
Yeah.
My greatest regret is that I never got to ride Ka. So, and we saw how that turned out.
Yep. The if what I've heard is true about the replacement of Rocket, though, I don't think anyone's going to be feeling sad about Rocket leaving in a couple of years.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that they announced Rocket because with some of the other trends that we've seen going on in theme parks with closing things with Anaconda, with Ka, with closing things without them ever announced, just closing at the end of the day, saying, "Oh, we'll reopen in 2025," and then it's just gone.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's what's funny is like I look at other parks, even in the Orlando area. I guess the state of Florida too. Like you look down at, I saw a post recently of like Iron Gwazi at Busch Gardens, and there was like no one sorting riders at the entrance or the load station, and like no one talks about that, right? But like you look at Disney and Universal, and they're still the world class of the theme parks, even with how things have changed at Disney since 2020. So I think it's a lot about perspective of how good Disney still is and how great Universal is becoming, even with the changes that have happened in the past 5 years.
Exactly. And I'm excited for at Disney, they're building Villains Land and Cars Land.
Yeah.
With Villains Land, it's going to be sad to see the Rivers of America go, but Villains Land, at least, I think that's something that as long as they do a decent job, it's just going to be a smash hit,
Yeah, I agree. I'm someone who I think everyone's kind of got a vibe if they follow me in knowing how outspoken I've been and critical of the Cars decision. I also think that part of that was just how Disney handled the situation. I think that if they had just come clean at D23 and let us kind of accept it then and maybe talk to some of the Imagineers working on Cars then and there, rather than waiting to announce it until after, like when there was no more expo, it felt very non-personal. It felt very corporate. Yeah. Also, just the fact that concept art they released only showed Cars. So I still firmly believe that there's a lot of the general Disney fan base who doesn't follow this stuff closely that believes that Cars is replacing the entire river, whereas that's not the reality. It's
Yeah.
cars and villains. Whereas if they had just given us a very vague overview last August of cars and villains and said, this is our full vision, we're going all out here, we want to make this the best project we've ever done, I probably wouldn't have been as upset. But
Yeah.
when I'm left with more questions and answers, I'm not going to be, glazing a project that is replacing one of my all-time favorite areas that Disney has ever produced, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so my guess with it, this is just a guess, but I would assume Cars is replacing up to like about where the fort is now, and then Villains the top half and maybe expanding a little bit.
Yeah, I think
Um,
again, the concept art we have isn't final yet. I wouldn't expect that till August at D23 and stuff to follow that. Who knows, maybe even we call it Imagineering thing in the future, later this year or in the years coming down that we'll get more details. But yeah, I think probably to like the fort, or maybe even up to kind of, if you take that Walt Disney World Railroad Bridge and then if you just go to the right of that, kind of connecting to Haunted Mansion, maybe that kind of circular area. But we'll see. It's a lot to take in, and I think the fact that we don't have a closing date yet for Tom Sawyer in the River is kind of surprising, because I was originally expecting the end of February. Like I thought it was going to be closed by now. So I mean, obviously, the permit wasn't approved, so they didn't have the green light for it. But yeah, I just every day it's here, I'm appreciating it, and every whistle I hear, I'm
yeah,
appreciating it, because it'll be gone sooner than later, whether I want it to be or
exactly,
not.
exactly. And I'm glad that I didn't when I went last in July. No one had any idea that it was going away, so I didn't think to ride the riverboat because we only had a day. I didn't think to go to the island. I didn't think to enjoy this part of the park
Yep.
because with one day, obviously there's so much we wanted to do. But I'm glad that it's still going to be there when I get to go in 19 days. So
Yeah, a couple weeks.
yeah,
Yeah,
so
it's gonna be sad, but I mean, at the same time, with all the summer offerings coming, like Starlight,
yeah,
Villains, Mermaid, I know I'll be focused on that at the end of the day, and I'll go through the 5 stages of grief, and then I'll move on with my life like I always do.
exactly. And Villain's Lead looks good too. Like that, if they do it right, it's going to be just it's going to be great. It's especially with the lead Imagineer. What he said he loved
Hades.
Hades. Thank you. I'm blanking on the name.
Yes, you're good.
But that's such a great character, and it's very exciting.
It is.
In the
It is.
end, at the end of the day.
I hope, like you said, they go all out. Like, we need a Tokyo level project here. I think I haven't really talked about it, because Disney isn't willing to clarify this or confirm it yet. So I'm kind of just hoping this happens. But my main hope for this entire project, Cars, Villains combined, this whole Magic Kingdom project, is that Zolt Horme is leading the Rockwork teams. If you guys don't know who Zolt Horme is, one of the most legendary, not known Imagineers of all time. He worked on Fantasy Springs in Tokyo. He worked on Pandora with, Joe Rohde, Jim Cameron, John Landau. Worked on Cars Land with Kevin Rafferty. Like, every iconic Disney Parks Rockwork structure has been led by Zolt Horme and his scenic Rockwork team. So I think that if Zolt comes out on stage at Destination D and he was like, yes, I'm working on this Magic Kingdom project. We're going to make this incredible. We know that you guys are sad about Frontierland changing. That's the biggest win Disney could do in my book, is focus on the people and their resumes with how they can make these projects great, and not just, oh, they wouldn't do this, they would just do that in Tokyo. No, like, we can have that here. The budget just needs to be put into the project.
Exactly. And one of the things I'm hoping comes out of this is secondary fireworks show, like what they have in California with Fire of the Rising Moons.
Yeah,
It'd be super cool if we got, if they build the villainy castle, and we get maybe projections on it, but either way, just that lining up with the fireworks and some sort of alternate villainous soundtrack would be really cool.
I agree.
I'd be,
I agree.
and if they could, something that California didn't do with Fire of the Rising Moons, add extra effects. Like if they were to install flamethrowers somewhere on the, villainous castle, or if they were to do something so that it's not just an alternate soundtrack. That's one of the things that in California I feel like they could have done better, is something stand out, something extra, some sort of extra effect. or fountains or something.
Yeah.
But I'm excited for villains. The
Yeah, I
dark
think,
ride.
no, I don't want to cut you off. Finish your thought.
Good.
Yeah, no, I was
Good.
just gonna say, like, I think that one of my most hopeful things is that they really lean into cars and villains having those seasonal things to them, making it kind of adds on to what you said about, Disneyland Fire the Rising Moons. But if you look at Cars Land, the California Adventure, with how much they transform Cars Land for Halloween, right? Do that here with Halloween and Christmas, and especially with Halloween because Cars is connected to villains. And people love Halloween Horror Nights, and obviously Villains Land isn't going to be anything near Halloween Horror Nights, but do stuff in Villains Land and make it feel even more spooky during Halloween season. Bring back the voice actors to do new original renditions of music for Halloween and Christmas for Cars, maybe, with Larry the Cable Guy and Owen Wilson. There's so much potential for decorations and transforming these areas into ways that you can never do now with Tom Sawyer, and that would be an addition, a positive. That's what I want.
Yeah, and I'm excited to see what they do at Christmas as well, because villains, that's not something they've really explored much. They haven't explored Ursula or Maleficent, how they celebrate the winter holidays, or we could get something Frozen related for Christmas,
Yeah.
because that you've got whatever the marshmallow, not marshmallow, but you know what I mean, like the big beast. I don't know.
Yeah,
The castle scene.
yeah. His name is Marshmallow, I believe. I think you're right.
Marshmallow. Okay.
Yeah.
Second guessing myself, but they could lean into that. They could lean into all these different aspects. Ursula would be one that I think would be really well integrated with Christmas. So I don't know. I'm excited to see what they do with that.
Yeah. It's not a matter of if they can do it. They can do it. It's a matter of will they do it, and will they make these projects so good that I don't miss Tom Sawyer and the Rivers of America anymore. That's what I want. I want this to be something that's such a win that just shocks people, to where you can miss these areas because they're going away forever and we'll never get to experience them again. But to the fact that I'm like, I understand why Disney did this now. Families are just going to connect with this so much more, and it's going to be a more Disney offering than, an island. Not to say that Tom Sawyer and Rivers of America are underutilized, because they are utilized perfectly. I hate the argument of saying, well, they're underutilized, people don't go over there. They're meant to be an escape. They serve their purpose of giving you this experience. But there's no denying at the same time that the new things are going to bring in that more general Disney audience, which I think is Disney's goal, quite honestly.
Yeah. And then on the other hand, there's Cars. And what you're saying, it will bring in the general audience.
Yeah.
But that's not, I feel like there's very little they can do that won't make me, miss Tom Sawyer and the Rivers with Cars, because I love Cars. It's one of my favorite movies. I love Cars Land in California. But they have to knock it out of the park. If they do something like Cars Road Trip, that would be a nightmare.
That would be.
I doubt they will, but
that'd be probably the worst thing they could do in the history of this company if it doesn't deliver.
Yeah. This is such, this is a project at the scale of some, we've never seen this scale project before.
Yeah.
At least not since the 80s with New Fantasyland in California. Even New Fantasyland in Florida does not, that's not the same.
Yeah, this is one that's like the morale with the guests with Disney is very on edge right now, right? We've seen the mess of Epcot. Yes, I love Cosmic Rewind. I loved Harmonious. Keyword is loved because it's not here anymore. I love Remy. Like there's wins with Epcot. Even the little updates to Soarin' recently to make the Eiffel Tower not bend. I like that. And there's parts of World Celebration that I'm okay with, but overall, I think you could call Epcot a mess. We didn't get Poppins, we didn't get Spaceship Earth, and then there's things like Tron, not opening forever. Which again, Disney intentionally did that slowly with Tron for the bottom line, but guests aren't necessarily trusting Disney right now, even with what we're seeing with the Tropical Americas, with trees probably being cleared as I talk to you. I just think that, to add on to what you said, you have to deliver. And I think
Yeah,
that everyone would agree with that.
yeah, exactly. So I'm excited to see what they do. I hope that the whatever ATV ride system, that's exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a new ride system that's trackless apparently, and that it's like Indiana Jones or Dinosaur but trackless. So
If it is trackless, I honestly would be shocked, and I'll take the L on that one if I'm wrong. But I think that, like you said, though, if even if it's tracked and they have that motion based where the vehicle's reacting to the environment, yeah, that would be a blast. But again, it's not just the ride system; it's the environment around it. Like, do you have these grand waterfalls, and do you have the mud holes and the geysers like they've teased? Do you deliver on this project? That remains to be seen, and I guess we'll
yeah,
find out more in August. But even again, it's still concept art at that point.
exactly. And so now we're about half an hour in. So I'd like to do a segment that I like to call. It's my first episode that I hereby call collections. So
Yes.
this will be. I think I told you a little bit about it. This will be every guest will show off something from their collection, and then I will show off something from mine. So how about we start with you?
I have two things. The things behind me that I love the most are the Epcot posters, done by Eric Tan. Eric Tan has done so many incredible art pieces, but my all-time favorite thing that I have is over here. So I'm gonna get it really quick. I'll be right back.
All right, we're good.
This right here, that's my favorite.
Nice.
Oh, knocked over my computer, but that's my all-time favorite thing that I own is my Runaway Railway sign. It's hand done, hand painted. I reached out to a guy on Instagram. His handle is Nick's Fix Las Vegas, but that is undoubtedly my favorite thing, just because it's probably now it's once again my all-time favorite ride. Tiana's just doesn't work anymore, so I can't really say it's my favorite ride. But yeah, I love Runaway Railway, and very very happy with that piece.
I love it. I'm only going to show one of mine because I've got God knows how many episodes. But this is actually the newest addition to my collection. This is my opening day ticket from Epcot.
Whoa.
So it's from 1982.
That is gorgeous.
Thank you. It's in decent condition. The silver sleeve is a bit scratched and stuff, but that's to be expected. I got it for $8 on eBay.
So wow.
A bargain. But yeah, it's in great condition. And I haven't hung it yet, but I eventually plan to hang it somewhere right back over there. So
very cool. It's crazy to think that that's existed for, longer than we've been on this planet by times two.
Oh yeah, over double my life and your life. So
incredible. But yeah, there's so much Disney merchandise. I have a little Sorcerer Mickey Imagineering plush over there, but there's other things on top of him. So, but yeah, the railway sign is my cherished piece.
Nice. Well, I feel like moving over to Hollywood Studios. That's a great transition. You've done this before. So how about we discuss Monsters Inc?
Let's do it.
Another one of the super controversial lands.
Yeah.
Muppets. It's a hard loss. I feel like for me, it's even harder than losing Rivers of America. Muppets is my absolute favorite. So
yeah, it's I think that's Muppets is something that I go back and forth on, because yes, it's Jim Henson's last project. Yes, it's the last time he performed as Kermit. There's no denying, the significance of that, like in the entertainment world, and the impact that he's had for so long now. I mean, even Muppet Vision it's been over 30 years now, right? Like it was 91, I believe, when it opened.
I think so.
Yeah, I think it was May of 91. So it's going to have its anniversary right before it permanently closes, which is kind of bittersweet. But me personally, I think that I would feel a lot better about this project if we had a clear vision of what they want to do with the film, right? Like, would it be awesome if they put it on Disney Plus? Yeah, but at the same time, you need more than that. It's an entire experience. You have all the effects, the theater exploding at the end. You have the animatronics, and the show itself, like the film, is outdated at the very end and kind of some of the quality of the CGI or whatever the rendering, but the animatronics aren't outdated. And the fact that people still love it as much as they do in 2025 just it goes to show that the show has stood the test of time, right? So, well, it's outdated in a technical sense, being a 3D show. Like, there's nothing special about that anymore. It's still loved, and that's why I hope that there is some long-term plan that they have in mind and follow through with to make it to where it's not just on Disney Plus and you kind of have that full experience. But I think my biggest concern was, and there's still partial concern here because we don't know anything about Rock and Roller Coaster, but I didn't want them to get rid of their own IP. They own the Muppets. They have full creative control over the Muppets. So why would you get rid of your own IP? But they partially answered my feedback with that because you're moving them over to Rock and Roller Coaster. The thing, though, is that Muppet Vision can be enjoyed by anyone. The last time I saw Muppet Vision a couple days ago, there was a little girl sitting next to me. She was on the edge of her seat laughing the entire time. It was like one of the sweetest things I've ever experienced. But she wouldn't be able to go on a Rock and Roller Coaster because of the height requirement. Yeah. So that's why if you bring back the show and then you have the coaster, well, then that's an improvement, obviously, because you're offering more Muppets than ever. But again, there's a lot that we don't know yet. And we will be learning more about Monsters Inc. soon. It's just one of those things where, is it going to feel like a Monsters Inc. land, or is it going to feel like a reimagined area?
Exactly. And, to your point, when I saw it in July, there was an elderly couple sitting a few rows behind us, and, they were enjoying it. They were talking, not talking a lot, but, talking about the show and laughing. And we left, and they had this huge smile on their face. And, that I doubt they'd be able to ride Rock and Roller Coaster. It's, they were, I'd have to say in their 80s maybe. So it's, it's going to be interesting, because my hope is that eventually, once the Villains show leaves, they're going to convert that theater into Muppet Vision, because obviously the Villains show is temporary until Villains Land is ready to go.
Yep.
So I would hope that they're preserving the film would mean putting it somewhere else in the park, specifically there.
Yeah.
Because making that a mini land, again, that's more Muppets than ever before, and so that would be, I think that would be an outcome that nobody would mind.
Yeah, I agree. And I think there's even potential to bring Muppet Vision to other parts of the country and other theaters that maybe aren't being utilized. Maybe bring some pop-up Muppet Vision experiences and just put it on a giant screen for people to watch. There's, especially out in Los Angeles, with the headquarters in Burbank and Imagineering out there, if there was a permanent place to watch Muppet Vision out there with maybe like a little lobby with some of the props and stuff from ours that's going to be taken out, and just show that they want people to be able to see this film still, I think would show us a lot of, like we are being heard a little bit. And I think that would go a long way.
Yeah. LA or Times Square, Vegas, DC, or even, give it a tour, give it like, what they're doing with the Disney 100 collection. Bring it to Los Angeles, and then to Vegas, and then to New York, and then, DC, and then maybe move it to Paris, London. There's so many opportunities for it. And,
agreed.
Something that would give it.
It would give it a lot of life. And you could, something that I literally just thought of as you were saying that, but if they did this tour, you could do a whole YouTube series on the Walt Disney Imagineering YouTube channel of the Muppets going on like this press tour. Like whenever you see these new movies open, they do these giant press events, right, with all the cast. But what about a re-debut of Muppet Vision, and the Muppets are going on this press tour with Miss Piggy and Kermit, and they're bickering at each other the entire time? That would be a phenomenal thing, because then you're getting Monsters Inc. land, and you're getting all this bonus stuff that you're getting as a result of that choice being made, which is something that people don't talk about often. But whenever these business decisions are made to bring in new stories, it forces these Imagineers to be creative, right? It's not Chris Beatty's fault that Tom Sawyer Island and the Rivers of America are going. He was just put on the project, and they said, do what you can do with it, right? So that's forcing them to go outside of Radiator Springs, make this national park area, right? So it's one of those things that there's lots of things that people don't talk about with things that happen. It's not if they can do it, it's do they do it.
Exactly. So, and again, it's a lot of times it's a matter of budget. With the Imagineers will want to do something outstanding, but then budget gets in the way, and
Yeah.
the higher ups they decide, oh, you can't do that, or we'll have to cut that, cool effect, and suddenly people are mad at the Imagineers. Like with Tiana's, I feel like if they could have built it with the tree on top and with the boat and everything, they would have. It's just a
Mhm.
matter of budget. And
Yeah.
now everyone's mad at the Imagineers. Oh, they designed this terrible thing. It never works. That's not their fault. That's executive. That's with it never working. That's not them. That's maintenance. So
Yeah, and maybe there were some mistakes made internally at Imagineering, with how the ride operates with like the humidity and the weather, because it's water mixed with electricity with these electric figures. So maybe there's some learning lessons there inside of Imagineering. But again, if Imagineering realizes that those mistakes were made, and then they're like, hey, we need to do this to get this fixed, but they're blocked from doing that. Well, yes, it was their original mistake, but at the end of the day, no one's going to be perfect. Disney's not going to get everything right. There's been so many things in the history of this company that if they were done now, they'd be shredded. But because they happened before social media existed, you'll never hear any complaints about it. I just think it's a matter of getting it right at the end of the day. And we haven't seen that yet with Tiana's, which is why I took my poster down. I don't want to be, the Tiana guy anymore, quite honestly, because the ride just doesn't work. If you would have told me a year ago when I was at a Magic Kingdom that this ride was going to be in the state that it is in today, I would have never believed you. I still love the ride. I adore the ride, but I can't support something that doesn't work anymore, especially, with the cancellation of the Tiana series too. They were talking about that Tiana series so much, and it was going to follow the events of the ride, Tiana's Bayou Adventure, and it's going to dive into Tiana and Naveen's relationship, and there's a nod to the series in the freaking test kitchen of the ride, and then they cancel it. It's just like,
yeah,
I can't get behind that anymore. I think I was a big enough cheerleader last year for, people to know that I care about it, but that I'm not gonna continue to go on that path.
yeah. And again, it feels like something where there were rumblings last year of they would go in and add more things, or they weren't done. And I just can't believe that at this point. It would be amazing, but it's just not. It's not feasible at this point.
Yeah,
To
and
go in and
yeah, no, finish your thought, please. I keep cutting you off. I feel bad.
it's just not feasible for them to go in and change things at this point. It's not something they can do. It's not. It's open. It's operating. If anything, maybe when Thunder reopens, they can close it for a few months and go in and do something. But it's just not. I don't think it's gonna happen.
Yeah,
So
it'd be an incredible surprise if they added more stuff to this ride. Maybe more lighting effects, more props somewhere in that. Maybe that stretch between the first Tiana to when you see the second band. I think that's the one stretch that people have a lot of feedback with, which is it's understandable. We've seen those little things, like we saw the Ray and Evangeline lights, and that whole scene got redone. It looks a lot better in person than it picks up on video. Like there was new lighting out of there. There's the LEDs in the wall. They raised the foliage. It looks great in person. There's a couple things in the queue, like they just added. I didn't even post about this, but they added a brand new stained glass chandelier in the test kitchen. I'll see if I have the photo of it on my phone. But the chandelier is gorgeous. But again, people don't necessarily want a photo of a chandelier right now when the ride is just not operating in the state that it should. So I just think
yeah,
it's one of those things where, yeah, am I going to complain about them adding, new audio in the queue and in the break room and the chandelier? No, because the chandelier is gorgeous. Like, it's all hand done. It's a water lily with the fireflies bouncing around. It's really pretty. Like, it's gorgeous. It's all hand
nice.
done, but that doesn't change the ride, right? So again, I love this. The little things I do care about as a Disney fan, but I have to take myself out of the picture at that point. It's not about, do I love Tiana's Bayou Adventure? It's, is Tiana's Bayou Adventure operating for families spending thousands of dollars on a trip right now? I'm very
Exactly.
fortunate to be local, but again, it's not about me. It's about the reality. And that's why
Yeah,
I have attempted to take myself out of it. That's why I haven't posted about Tiana recently or any of the Mardi Gras stuff, because it's just tone deaf if I did that.
yeah. It's about like people like me. I'm a big Disney fan, but my dad, my mom, neither of them are Disney adults. Neither of them, you know, they'll go to the parks and they'll enjoy them, but they are general public, and
Mm-hmm.
we live 700 miles away. So that's it's for guests like us. It's
Mm-hmm.
you can add all the new animatronics you want, but if the existing ones don't work, what's the point?
Yeah. And again, if there were mistakes that were made, that's okay. I get it. These are
Yeah.
some of the most advanced figures, if not the most advanced, that Imagineering has ever put out. And if you look back at the We Call It Imagineering with how complex Lewis is and how they were talking about, Tiana's wrist, rotating with the costume, like people don't think about the dozens of people that pour their lives. And I'm not trying to take a shot at the team that worked on this ride because I know all of them. I met all of them. I talked to them and they told me things that, how much they appreciated my coverage and how it was a morale boost for them. And I never posted about that stuff. But like, I love those people. I know that they're very talented. But again, just let them fix the mistake to where we have the product that's to the Disney standard that we've been taught to love for the last 72 years since Imagineering was created, right? And I think that's one of my big hopes for these future projects is we need that trust to be rebuilt a little bit. I still adore the company with how, people are. I'm very aware of how positive I normally am. But again, I'm positive for Universal too most of the time. But no one will talk about that because it doesn't fit the narrative.
Yeah. And then, you see, I don't want to name names, but you see the, Splash super fans who, they don't, I don't entirely agree, but I agree about, they had an opportunity and, the ride turned out great, but again, it didn't necessarily work. And, with California, they had another chance to, but then you see, Tiana in the finale was broken for 3 months. And so it's, it
Yeah.
makes you start to wonder.
Yeah, no, I agree. Usually I won't like engage with stuff like that because I
Yeah.
just people are allowed to have their opinions. I'm not going to be like, and that's what's funny about like when I post about stuff with Tiana's. People are like, "You're horrible. You like Tiana's all this." I'm like, guys, if you don't like me, just block me. Scroll past the post. It's not that hard. Like you don't have to speak about everything. Like there's so
Yeah.
many things that I see on Twitter every single day that I don't necessarily agree with, but I'm like, that's their opinion. There's nothing wrong with having an opinion. Like just let these people be who they are. If you don't agree with it, don't engage with them. Don't follow them. But something that I do personally is on my Twitter, there's a lot of people that I purposely follow and see what they're saying and doing to keep an open mind. Because
Yeah.
if I'm only following people that I support, whether it's personal beliefs or Disney or theme parks or whatever, then that's going to keep my mind closed to just that path. But I'll purposely, sometimes see what these other people are saying to see a different perspective that isn't necessarily my own. And like you said, with Splash, there's a lot of validity to it because yes, Splash was 30 years old. It wasn't perfect, but there was so much going on that if one of those frogs wasn't working, it didn't matter. But when Lewis is frozen, it takes you out of the moment immediately. So it's very valid.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but it's still a good ride, and that's the thing with this is it's, even if nothing works, it's still a good, it's a fun ride, good music.
Yeah.
It's still got the same track layout as Splash, and it's still, the drop is still just as fun.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, let's hope they put the love into it that it needs. It really needs to be done now.
Yeah. And I know you're more of a Florida person, obviously, but can we talk for a minute about, Disneyland Forward and
Yeah,
the
absolutely. I
Avengers
think
expansion there?
yeah, I live in Florida, but you and I know that I can speak for you on this because I know how closely you follow everything, and that's I think why we kind of connected first when you found my coverage on WW Magic. But we follow all this stuff, so yeah, I'm always open to talking about Disneyland, and my coverage of the 70th, people have loved that stuff, so it's one of those things where even though I don't live out there, I'm still happy to cover it.
Nice. So with the Avengers Campus expansion, that's I think one of the things I'm most excited for at this point. That's they're building the Tony Stark Kuka arm ride, but then there's the big. That's weird. I don't necessarily get that, but then there's the e-ticket. That's we have no details on that for the most part, but it looks good.
It's going to be a blast. And I'll point something out here that no one else has picked up on, because we're talking about Avengers. But Walt Disney Imagineering, when we're recording this, they're highlighting Women in Construction Week. And yesterday, one of the pictures they posted is from the Avengers campus site. You can see,
Oh,
yeah, you can see right here that that's Mission Breakout, and she is standing. She's one of the. It says project site, 10:30 a.m. site walk, and that's very clearly the dirt that is being moved right now. At the Avengers Campus expansion.
I did not realize that.
Yeah, so it's
That's a good
Disney.
point.
Like officially, when I talked to Disney, they're like, "Yeah, we haven't started new construction yet. It's just like preparation for that new work, like the vertical stuff, right?" But I mean, dirt is moving. This is what we said was going to be happening, and it's happening now.
Yeah.
Yes, I understand with the Avengers e-ticket. That's not the best argument to make because it's gone through so many iterations, and it was announced like what 2019 it was first talked about, and it's been like 6 years to get dirt moving. But I guess it's been maybe a year and a half since this final concept was locked. But now it's just like, can they get it open in time for the Olympics? They can. We'll just see if it happens.
Yeah. And then there's the Coco boat ride.
Yes. That ride is going to be absurd. From the few things that I've been told about that ride, it's going to be absurd. And I don't want to say it like word for word, but if you go back to the original Disney Parks blog article, there is a line in that article that confirms something about this attraction that I've not seen a single person talk about, and it is going to break the theme park community whenever that's revealed. It's going to be far down the road, but it has to do with one of the main things that you'll see in this ride, and it's in writing. It's teased, but no one's picked up on it. So if you guys want to, if everyone watching this, and you included, want to go check out that original Coco article, I'm going to pull it up right now just to confirm, but I believe it's still there. And it's very much a tease of of what's to come. So yeah, I'll pull it up right now and I'll see if it's still here. But I don't want to say it. I don't want to point it out. If you guys pick it up on it, then it's still there. It's still there. But yeah, Josh tomorrow said something that is a direct tease of what's to come. And whenever Imagineering reveals that, years down the road, probably realistically not till 2028, it's going to be incredible.
Nice. And I would assume that it's, a decent sized boat ride. I'm guessing somewhere across between the detail of Rapunzel at Tokyo Disney Sea and Pirates. So I'd guesstimate maybe 8 minutes.
I really hope so. I really hope that that's one of those, we've been so trained to these rides that are 4 or 5 minutes long. And if it's something like Cosmic Rewind, right, where it's a coaster moving quick, a 90-second runtime for an indoor coaster is incredible. No one's going to complain about that. Rise of the Resistance, it's great because you have the pre-shows, the ride's 5 minutes, Runaway Railway, pre-show ride, it's awesome. Even Monsters Unchained, right? The ride itself is 5 minutes long. I know that's not public yet, but I know for a fact it's 5 minutes long. But you have this incredible queue and you have the pre-show. It's just ridiculous. But again, it's moving quick through all these scenes, so it makes sense. But with a boat ride, where you can kind of move slower to kind of take in the scenes around you, and again, to your point, it needs to be on that level of Rapunzel's detail-wise. But if it's something that's 8 minutes long, that would be so good, and it would just be an incredible instant classic, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I've heard people talking about it could be the Shanghai Pirates tech. What are your thoughts?
That would be great. I don't think so for Coco. I think that'd be more of Pandora, because that one piece of concept art we got for Coco, it's just one piece of concept art, but it looks like a more traditional, boat ride, as if we were just going through the city. Maybe we're celebrating, Day of the Dead. So I think that Pandora, based off that concept art with how big those boats are, I think that they're going to go all out on that. That the budget story with Jim Cameron involved, it's just going to be absurd. But yeah, I think that'd be more for Pandora than Coco.
Yeah. And with Avatar, I have been hearing it's not going in Hollywood.
Interesting.
I've heard where, but that's not something I can talk about.
Yeah.
But it's not Hollywood, which makes me interested to hear what are they doing with Hollywood, because obviously, especially with Red Car Trolley closing, Hollywoodland needs help.
It does.
It's undeniable. With Hyperion sitting empty and with no Red Car Trolley, it's very dead. You've got there is, you've got the parade route for Better Together, and you've got the Monsters Inc. ride, and that's even the Monsters Inc. ride is good, but it's just whatever Superstar Limo reskinned. It doesn't feel like it should fit in that land. So I hope they do something with that.
Yeah. That will be. I think that's kind of funny. Is like at Walt Disney World, we know everything. Like we know that Muppets is going for monsters. We know that Tom Sawyer in Rivers is going for villains and cars. We have all the details except for the closing date for Tom Sawyer and Rivers. But at Disneyland, it's like there's a lot of where is Coco going? Where is this going? Officially, where is the Disneyland Forward stuff going to start at? Like, what's that first project? There's a lot of questions out there, but the fact that Daniel Ju, like one of the main creative directors, he worked on Tokyo and now he's over at Disneyland. Like he came to Disneyland to work on this stuff, and he's not a very like outgoing Imagineer to where you'll see him on social media and stuff. He's kind of under the radar, but that man is a genius. And knowing that he's going to bring that, I think the first site that broke it was the site that I used to work for, Mickey Visit. Gavin and his team broke that news, and that was like one of the best things that they've posted. With all the hype at D23, I'm like that is a great thing to highlight. And I think that goes to show that when Gavin saw that to highlight that, he was like, yes, this is substantial. Just goes to show that if Disney was doing like with what I said was Old Horme, that people would react to it. Because when we see those Imagineers with those incredible resumes, we want that. Disney there's a lot of room to grow there, I think, with official stuff from the company.
Yeah. And with their new park president as well, that's, I have high hopes for that. He seems like a well-qualified person.
Yeah.
He seems like he has a good track record.
Absolutely. So. Yeah, I kind of forgot about that stuff. I didn't forget about it, but I wasn't really thinking about, I guess when this stuff's happening, Thomas Maslam I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but yeah, he was with Signature Experiences and saw cruise line stuff. So yeah, the cruise line fleet, I think, is the one thing that hasn't been affected at all by some of the morale with how guests feel about the company. Every single person I know that goes on a cruise just says that was incredible. I think I really had my eyes open to the cruise line when I was editing a video for Serena with Living by Disney, when we put up the video of the Disney Fantasy. And I spent like a week, editing that video, going through all the clips and listening to her narrating the video. And I kind of did a virtual walkthrough of the ship just from this YouTube video I was editing, and just knowing how much she loves cruise line and, everyone else that posts about it. It's nice to see that someone that has overseen so much quality is going to be moving into such a major role. So I have a lot of hope there.
Absolutely. And, that's just another case of, the cruise line. That's they're adding what, I guess 8 new ships, because they announced they're adding the 4, and then they're adding 4 more to get to 13 now.
Yeah,
that's a small navy.
It really is. That would be. I don't think it would ever be possible because these ships have so many different like ports of call. But if there was ever a point where Disney had all 13 ships lined up, I don't even know if that would be possible with like the Wake of the Ocean. But imagine how incredible it would be to have every single ship next to each other, just going down. Like that would be like one of the coolest things you could ever see on camera with the drone shots. But even if they just had like the 4 new ships next to each other, that would just be like, holy crap.
Yeah, and back in the day, Disneyland had the 8th largest submarine fleet in the world. This feels like that level. That's
it's a funny way to look at it, but yeah, that it really is like a Disney Navy, just a magical one.
Yeah, honestly, my selfish hope is that they're looking for more ports of call, because about 30 minutes from where I live is a huge Carnival used to dock at our it was a Carnival location, but they've sold it, but it's a cruise port that's looking for a new brand to partner with. They've been it's been all over the news lately.
Interesting.
In our city, and it's so my selfish hope is that they bring a ship here. I doubt it, but we have decent tourism, so
yeah, I mean, I think it's a very valid point. Also the fact that I feel like we're going to have that inevitable news at some point that they're going to retire the magic and the wonder, because they just, if these ships aren't, they can't really compete with the new offerings, with the technology and the characters and the storytelling. And also just the fact that it seems like these new ships, for those of you guys watching this, Disney has confirmed that these newer ships aren't going to be as big as this Wish class, the Triton class ship. So it seems like they're intentionally aiming to replace these ships with a brand new offering that's going to get people interested in booking. Whereas right now there's no excitement around those older ships. It's more of like the Fantasy and the Treasure, right? I would say the Fantasy and the Treasure are the best two in their class. But the Destiny with the heroes and villains, I'm very intrigued by. So yeah, I think that it would be incredible if we see some new ports of call and maybe expanding Disney's market with the theme parks, we're seeing them try to shift to a more general audience, get more people interested in the company again. So doing that with the cruise line, I think would be a great choice. And, even if it's not immediate, maybe we see those itineraries shift in years after they debut and set sail.
Absolutely. And I'm again cautiously optimistic. I say that I've been saying that a lot today.
It's valid though. It's valid.
With what is it, the Adventure, which they
Yeah.
bought a ship that was halfway done, and they're reskinning it. That's very interesting because it's totally different than anything they've done before.
Yep.
All their other ships are custom built, from one set design. But since this is halfway done, they can't do that.
Yeah. Me personally, this might be a really hot take, but I think the fact that they've been forced to do different things with that ship because the ship was already, like, the structure, the integrity of that ship was already done. It isn't just this copy paste stuff to where they can put exactly where they want. Where it's like I talked about earlier. It forces Imagineering's hand to be creative. And when we're seeing this ship be so unique, if I had to pick, I would go on that ship over anything else because it's different.
Absolutely.
It's not like the Treasure. Don't get me wrong. The Treasure I would go on in the Fantasy because those are so loved. But when I'm seeing like a Duffy show in this incredible like garden archway in the middle of the ship, like the only reason they're doing that is because they were forced to, and that it made it so good,
Yeah, and the castle at sea. That's
it's awesome.
Or the roller coaster.
Yeah. It looks great.
Yeah, the what is it? The Marvel roller coaster, and they've got the like go-karting track.
Yeah, I forgot the name of it. I think it's Pim.
Yeah, Pim.
Quantum Racers.
That's
maybe.
It. Yep.
Yeah.
That's it.
It looks great.
And with the go-karting track and the the Dumbo style spinner.
Yeah, Groot's Galaxy Spin. I think these names are popping into my head.
But that's something that we've never seen that before.
Yeah.
With a Disney cruise ship, it's exciting. And then don't even get me started on the Tokyo ship. I love Oriental Land Company so much because they don't care. They will spend however much money they need to.
Yeah, there's like a blank check with their signature on it.
Yeah. Disney will say, oh, you can design this great thing, but then we'll have to cut parts of it. And, because, I hate to say it, but, the higher ups with their paychecks, Bob Iger made what, $40 million last year?
Yeah, just a ridiculous amount of money.
And then OLC is there saying, design this, we'll pay for it,
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It could be $100 million, single dark ride. It could be a parade float that's $20,000. $20,000 is a little low. $20 million. I don't know. Random numbers here. But it could be this, small thing that costs so much money. But if it makes their parks or their resorts better, that's what they care about. So there have been days where I've thought, I wish OLC would buy Disney. That obviously.
Yeah, or at least, a lot of people would probably agree with you if you said, OLC taking over ownership of the parks and just allowing the rest of the company to focus on the entertainment side, which I feel like is kind of already the reality now. When you see these numbers where they're spending like $9 billion on, content, and I'm like, why? Like you put a couple $100 million of that into Walt Disney World maintenance costs, and don't even get me. Oh, that'd be so amazing. Like,
$60 billion of investment into the parks, but none of that's going to fixing things that are broken or,
I think there's a decent chunk of it, but it's just, again, we have actually seen a lot of stuff at Walt Disney World recently been fixed, which I'll give them credit for.
Yeah.
Not to applaud it, because like it should be fixed, but when something isn't, and then the intention is put to it, I am going to acknowledge it. I think it would be hypocritical to complain about something not working and then ignoring it once it's fixed. And then if I was like, I can't believe this isn't fixed, and then once it's fixed, like, oh, it should be like that. That's very hypocritical, right? I think if you say something, you have to live up to it and acknowledge it, right?
Absolutely. Well, on that note, we've just hit an hour, so I feel like it might be a good time to wrap up.
Yeah, we covered a lot, from the future of Walt Disney World. I think, like you said, cautiously optimistic is a good way to to view it, but with how fast they've been moving at Dinoland right now, it's again they're putting the money where their mouth is, or at least recently since last August. And Disneyland, we have the 70th coming up in just about 2 months now, and that's going to be great. All the decorations look incredible, and the entertainment looks very solid, and cruise line, lots of stuff there. So, and even Epic Universe opening, and that's going to make Disney hopefully pay attention a little bit more to what people like and react to, and maybe add some extra stuff here and there. So this summer, I think we'll show what we have in the future, and it's kind of going to open up the playbook of what is set to come.
Absolutely. And Drew, I will see you in just a few weeks.
Yes,
when
I'm ready.
In Florida.
I will be documenting the parade.
Yes. Go follow Drew over on Twitter and Instagram. Yes, it's still Twitter. It's not X. So go follow Drew. I'll leave links down in the description to him and to all of his socials. Thank you so much, Drew. And I will see you in just under 2 weeks, or just over 2 weeks.
Yes, it was a great conversation, and thank you for bringing me on as your first ever guest on the Coaster Talks podcast.
Absolutely. Thank you.